Hi there. Sorry I can't make it to the meeting today, but I wanted to send a quick video to just talk a little bit about how you might be able to use podcasts in your education and in your research as well. Something I was talking to Andrea about and talked to your other colleague yesterday about as well. So just wanted to send that through. Hope this is useful. Firstly, what we do at the Podcast Host is a couple of different things. We teach podcasting through online courses, so digital courses, which are self-study entirely. You can buy those courses, you can go through them to learn how to podcast, and we also do in-person stuff as well. So we come and do workshops for podcasting to show people how to run a podcast, how to create the content, how to plan that content, how to make sure that content achieves the aims that you have for it. So it's really not just the technical stuff, it's all of the strategy around it as well. We also do production, so we actually produce podcasts for people. So that means that we get the recordings from the producers, and then we actually do all of the technical elements beyond that to turn it into really a podcast episode, from processing to music to all the other things that go into making a podcast. But of course, I'm sure that there's plenty of audio production capability at the Conservatoire, so it's probably not something you need to worry about. It's more on the educational side of things, I suppose, that we were going to talk about. So there's two sides to it. There's the teaching side. Now, podcasting can be really powerful for teaching for a few different reasons. Podcasting can be audio, it can be video. So I realise that there's a lot of visual elements to what a lot of you do. So it is possible to create a video podcast. The benefit of creating it as a podcast as opposed to just a set of videos is that it is subscription based. So a podcast by definition is subscription based. It means that people subscribe to it on their device. They then are sent, or their device then downloads those podcast episodes automatically from then on. So if you can get your students to actually subscribe to the podcast feed, then whenever you create a new episode, whether it's audio or video, then that episode goes to them directly and they download it automatically. So it comes to them as opposed to them having to go and seek it, which is one of the big powers with education, with podcasting, because really you can't rely on the students coming to you to find the material. Once they subscribe, it goes to them. So the video element is there. You could always teach anything from showing some instrument tutorials or dance or theatre or demonstrating ways to set up stages, that kind of stuff. So there's plenty of visual things I think you probably don't need any imagination around. But for the audio element, it's actually, people always are surprised when I show them examples of how visual things can be taught through audio and how well it reaches people actually. One of the most successful podcasts I've worked with is a photography one. So it was a lady that I've worked with to create a photography show where she teaches people how to be better photographers via the medium of audio. And you'd imagine that photography obviously would need visuals. It's the most important thing about photography, but actually she teaches it in a really good way. She reaches her listeners, she reaches that audience, she really connects with them through that sort of the power of voice. It's a way that people can consume things and really connect with the person that's delivering it, because they just hear their voice. There's no distractions around it, there's no superficial elements, and people can be much more natural when they're just speaking as opposed to when they're presenting to a video. The other element to that is the fact that podcasting can be consumed in otherwise wasted time. So you don't have to make time to consume an audio podcast. And that's one of the biggest reasons why podcasting is doing quite well just now while it's growing, and why it's finding a new audience really, because people listen to a podcast when they're driving in the car, when they're walking along the street, when they're mowing the lawn, when they're washing the dishes. You don't have to make time for it, and therefore it's much more easy to get that material consumed. And also because of that, you get much more attention as well, because in video, you're lucky if you get somebody for a few minutes just sat in front of their computer or on their phone watching it, because there's so many other distractions around. They have to really focus their attention on that video. But with audio, you have the chance to basically take up their attention when they're doing some rote tasks, or when they're doing something that bores them otherwise, so ironing or something like that, or just in the car so they're not able to do anything else. So you get that attention and that engagement during that otherwise wasted time. So I hope that covers a few of the benefits of using podcasting to teach, and sort of justifies that you can use audio to teach visual elements, or you can use video podcasting to reach people by going out to their devices. The second part of it, and I won't go into this too much, but just to let you know that the second part of it, we're working with a few people at the moment around research engagement. So proving impact really around research. So if you have conducted research, then a lot of the funding bodies that fund research these days require you to demonstrate how you have achieved impact, how you've reached the community, how you've reached the general public with the outcomes of your research. And there's a couple of things you can do here. Either when you're actually creating the project, you can plan in funding for that to actually create a podcast series which delivers those outcomes to the public. So if you're researching something that is actually kind of quite pop culture, quite relevant to the public, then you could plan in to create, say, 3 to 5 episodes which actually deliver the findings of that research project and let the public consume it in a way that they might enjoy, i.e. audio or maybe video as well as a podcast. So that's one way. That's actually the dissemination. That's disseminating the results of your research to the public or to the community or to the sector that you're in. It might not be the general public. It might just be your little niche. The other aspect is that proving the impact. So that's actually when we have gone in and interviewed the researchers, the participants, the interviewees. We've actually created a show which is more designed to demonstrate what happened within that research project. Take the lessons out of it, to demonstrate how that research has impacted the university, the team, and what's come out of it. It's maybe not so much public facing, maybe that's more researcher facing, it's colleague facing, it's to deliver to the funding board to prove what you've done as well. So that's the two aspects. It's the dissemination, getting out there into the world in a really easily quite fashionably consumable way, I suppose, in audio. And then there's the proving impact as well. So showing that you're showing what happened within your project and how it's achieved impact with both your team and with the money that was spent on it. So I hope that was useful. I'm happy, of course, to answer any questions. So if you do want to ask any questions, then fire me through an email to colin@thepodcasthost.com, or I'm sure Andrew or your colleagues can pass on that email. And I hope that I can get over to meet some of you sometime in the future if you want to look at podcasting in your own work. So thanks for taking the time to watch this, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.